News next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy J. this morning, former state rep and GOP gubernatorial and congressional candidate Jeannie Ives. And Jeannie, we talked about this case yesterday, but it bears more discussion. This is a federal lawsuit filed by Evanston Skokie District 65 drama teacher Stacy DeMar because if you haven't listened to the show, then maybe you don't know. And until now, maybe you don't know because we've covered it a lot. Evanston Skokie District 65 is one of the worst school districts in the country, full stop, period. Yep. And in addition to that, it is also one of the school districts that was at the tip of the spear in adopting a racist, critical race theory curriculum, as well as all the other Marxist deconstructionist aspects of that curriculum, including the sexualization of young children and so forth. And some of the things that are recounted in the suit include directing teachers to participate in racially segregated affinity groups, instructing students to read the book Not My Idea, in which a devil approaches the main character with a contract binding you to whiteness. In the pre-K through second grade, teachers are instructed to ask children, what is your understanding of whiteness? Fourth grade teachers asking students how whiteness showed up in a political cartoon. Fifth grade teachers instructed to preface the book with a statement about white people playing a big role in the problems of racism today and throughout world history. Also, the statement that pretending not to see color is called colorblindness, and colorblindness helps racism. Just a smattering of what is going on in Evanston Skokie District 65. And apparently this teacher, Stacy DeMar, wanted to teach drama and not, be a critical race propagandist /
hustler
consultant. Yes, right. So she filed suit. And here's the thing that's important about this suit on a number of levels, but one level we didn't get to yesterday, and Jeannie, I know you can address this too. These school boards, just like school districts, and by extension the school boards, just like corporate America, they're run by the lawyers. It's the abundance of caution crowd. If there's the prospect of a lawsuit, then we have to run in the opposite direction. So whoever is the most irrational and threatening is who gets served, just like whoever is the most frightened is who gets served when it comes to COVID-related policy. And so it's important that a teacher like Ms. DeMar step up, and others like her, to say, hey, if you think this is just about insulating yourself from litigation and you're going to get away with that excuse, well, guess what? With respect to this discriminatory, anti-intellectual poison, there are going to be other people that come at you from the other direction and use the courts to do so.
Look, thank God that she is finally suing. We needed a teacher to sue over this because she is standing up for hundreds, if not thousands, of other school teachers in Illinois, at least, and probably across the nation, that are very concerned about what's happening in their school districts. And these school boards want to deny it. They want to call it everything but what it is, which is critical race theory. Instead, they want to just call it equity, or they want to call it social emotional learning. It's not. It is the worst stuff that you could be propagating to young children. And I am so thankful that she is finally suing over this. Somebody is.
And to discuss this in additional detail, we're pleased to be joined by her counsel, Kimberly Hermann, who's general counsel for the Southeastern Legal Foundation, that foundation representing Ms. DeMar in this suit. Kimberly, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me today and for bringing attention to the lawsuit that we filed this week.
And so give us sort of the four corners of the suit and your assessment of the prospects of the suit's success.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like you said, I mean, District 65 is really ground zero for the kind of race-based programming that you went through and that you listed and that we have in our complaint. And at the end of the day, it is illegal. It violates our civil rights laws, and it's unconstitutional. It violates the Equal Protection Clause. Because, these schools seem to forget that they are arms of the government, right? Public schools are arms of the government. And we as parents know that they have the authority and the power. So in order to check that power, we have to go to the courtroom. And, our client is very brave, and she feels very strongly about this, as do many other people who have come forward in just the last 2 days since we filed this lawsuit. And, the crux of our lawsuit is bringing forth the well-settled law that in America, you cannot treat people differently because of their skin color, right? It's what we call equality. I like to always kind of remind people of that equality is enshrined in the Constitution, and that is what this lawsuit is about. Equality is not the same as equity, which is, as you mentioned, what the district has been pushing for many, many years now. The way that we see equity is that it's a license to punish Americans for their skin color.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why we had the civil rights movement in the first place. That's why the U.S. Supreme Court struck down school segregation in 1954. It is wrong, it is morally wrong, and it is legally wrong. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why District 65 wants to put us back 70 years when we had National Guardsmen coming in to enforce desegregation orders. Instead, they're actually segregating teachers and students. And so, in a nutshell, that's really what the lawsuit is about. It is about equality, and it is about holding District 65 accountable to the Constitution.
You said other people have come forward since it was public that the suit had been filed. Other people, meaning like other teachers, or they're supportive of Stacey Demar, or they're wanting to file similar suits in other districts. What's the response? What do you mean by that response?
Yeah, well, for months and really, I mean, before this became a massive national issue, which I'm so glad that it has. We have been talking to parents and teachers across the country, and this is the first in a series of lawsuits that Southeastern Legal Foundation is going to be filing in Illinois and in other states throughout the country. But yeah, we have had, to be honest, overwhelming and support from the local community there, which to a degree was unexpected because, our client has been fighting this battle for years. She filed a complaint with the Department of Education back in 2019. And in January of this year, the Department of Education they formally found that District 65 violated federal civil rights laws. And 3 days after Biden was inaugurated, the Department of Education withdrew that letter of finding with no explanation.
Right, of course.
The civil laws have been the same. Civil rights laws have been the same since 1964. They've only gotten stronger. And for some reason, apparently, they all changed the day that Biden became our president.
I wonder why that is. Golly gee. Yeah, administrations change and interpretations change along with them, don't they?
Well,
apparently so.
Has there been an uproar in Evanston? There has been in other suburbs, parents going to the school boards talking about this issue, school boards and superintendents denying that they're doing this. But Evanston's pretty woke. I mean, they instituted reparations. Even prior to this, the school district was, charged that they were going to actually inequitably they were going to have a racist reopening policy, so to speak. So do you see any pushback from the local community there in Evanston?
I certainly expect there to be some. I believe that, there have been maybe a statement made out there by the PTSA president to this point. But, I think a lot of it, the silence has come from fear to speak out, and also a lack of awareness as to what was actually going on. I mean, if you want to talk locally, we have parents that are interested in joining the suit. We have had other teachers come forward that are interested in joining the suit. Certainly did not expect that, because there have been parents who have spoken out about this at school board meetings in the past, but not to the level that we're seeing, like in Loudoun County or some of the other places that have kind of gone viral around the country. But when you look at this curriculum and you see that at the end of the day, what it's teaching is it's teaching and trying to get non-white kids to hate, and it's trying to get white kids to hate themselves. it is startling. It makes you stop in your tracks, in addition to the fact that it's unconstitutional. And I had a number of parents say to me, I had no idea. I know they talk about equity. I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't understand it was just a euphemism for critical race theory, for all of these other things, and really for conditioning individuals to see their to see each other's skin color first. And that is not what we should be teaching. We should be teaching to look at the inside of a person.
Now,
look at who a person is.
For people listening to this who have kids in private school, because these elite private schools are in many cases worse than the government school systems, because of course you have these, the Chardonnay Antifa and the Champagne Socialists who send their kids to these $60,000 a year schools. Like Grace Church School in New York, and that math teacher, Paul Rossi, who made a splash by saying, I didn't come to the school, I'm not to teach, to treat my students differently based on the race. I'm not going to do it. And he was summarily dismissed. And he had tried to go through the proper channels and get some, redress to what was being promoted, and he was unable to do so, so he went public and he gets fired. Private school parents, like we have a very high-profile case going on at Loyola Academy, which is a Catholic school on the North Shore of Chicago, as you probably know. What's your advice and counsel for private school parents dealing with the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, there may be recourse for private school parents in the contract terms that they have. And I believe that there's going to be some groups out there that are going to try to kind of push the needle on that with private schools. But, our focus here at Southeastern Legal Foundation really is public schools. We're a nonprofit, a 501c3, and our mission is to hold the government accountable when they violate the Constitution. So, my advice to those parents is speak up. Get involved, be involved on the boards. My children are in private school personally, and I cannot subject them to this. And so, just stay as involved as you can and be an advocate for your children. And, if they're not going to listen, take your money somewhere else.
Well, I think other parents should also be aware that they're changing disciplinary policy based on some of the sort of racism. So they may see 4 or 5 incidences. They say, well, now we have to have a new disciplinary policy about how do we react if somebody has a racist incident. And literally there's almost no racial incidents in many cases. And the other thing they should be aware of is that, they're all doing this because, we have to put in equity because we need to close the achievement gap without ever proving up that there is an achievement gap and that it's out of the norm and that doesn't comport with what their peer districts are doing. So there's this. I think people can also push back locally by just challenging the premises for why they're even instituting this instruction. In some cases, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in the critical race theory. There's been no proof that it improves anything in terms of test scores or equity. It is racist at its face, but you have to read their documents. Even my own school district, which people think is conservative, it really isn't. I mean, they have an entire Vision 2022 thing, which is all about equity slides. You don't see equality at all. And so they have to learn the language of critical race theory, parents do, so they can properly identify it when they see it. And then they have to be very much aware of what they're doing in terms of disciplinary policy around this as well. And I think parents need to sue, and I applaud you for what you do. And thank you so much for helping out in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for highlighting the case again. We really appreciate it.
Well, and just one follow-up, too, about the prospects for success and sort of the pitch battle that this is going to be, because it's great that Stacey DeMar has stepped up and you see this happening, the revolt going on in Loudoun County, Virginia, and South Lake, Texas, and elsewhere. But that doesn't mean that the other side is just, folding up their tents and going home. Hardly. We just saw yesterday, University of North Carolina caved and granted tenure to 1619 Project / critical race theorist Nicole Hannah-Jones. They still control these institutions. They're not going to lay down just because one teacher or some parents and one school district step up. So your sort of prognosis on this case and what this battle is going to look like, give people some perspective in terms of just how difficult this fight is going to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We don't expect them to roll over or anything like that. But, the universe of these teacher trainings specifically out there is fairly small. There's a small number of companies who are paid a tremendous amount of money to come in and train these teachers on how to teach these students critical race theory, if we're going to use that term here. And so it's really making sure that we, bring cases in the right places, and that when we get the court to declare that these trainings and that this curriculum is unconstitutional, we believe that's going to have a ripple effect throughout the country. Because if it's unconstitutional in one school district, it's surely unconstitutional in another school district. And they're using the exact same materials. I talk to teachers in states, Iowa, Missouri, North Carolina, New York. They have the exact same training that they're given. And so you get it ruled, to be illegal and the court to halt it in one place, it's going to be halted in the other. So we have a really good, a good prognosis here.
Can push the dominoes back in the other direction. I like it. Kimberly Hermann, General Counsel for Southeastern Legal Foundation, representing Evanston Skokie District 65 drama teacher Stacy DeMar in her federal lawsuit. Kimberly, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Stop wasting energy. There's a better way. Your company could be receiving energy efficiency incentives